Today we're going to talk to you about this 2016 991 GT3 RS. I'm Justin.
And I am Aaron.
And this is Husman Bros. And this is the Porsche right now.
This is the pinnacle of Porsche's naturally aspirated 911 collection, the GT3 RS in lava orange.
So how many of these did they make in 2016?
Well, the GT3 RS is a limited production vehicle. That's what makes it highly sought after by enthusiasts and collectors. And there were about 2,000 to 3,000 GT3 RS produced for the 2016 model year. Out of those, numbers aren't exact, but they believe around 400 to 900 of them were in lava orange. So great car. Not many people are going to have this car.
Right. So for those of you that aren't necessarily Porsche people, but found us because of Cayennes and stuff, let's tell you a little bit more about this car. So this is a 991. You've seen our white Porsche on our channel, which is a 997. And so get your scorecard out so you can keep it straight. But this is the next generation Porsche. This is a 2016, this is a 991.1.
Yes.
This is a little bit larger than a 997.
Yep.
It is the first of the larger body style 911s, and this is the one that you want. So the 991 GT3 RS, 500 horsepower from the factory.
Yep, 4-liter flat six.
Absolutely. All of them in PDK. If it says RS on it, it's going to be PDK. Porsche doesn't want you to make it slow by being slower than their transmission. So that's why they do it this way. Now let's talk about some of the details. At the end of the day, really, this is a race car that you can buy and drive right on the street to grocery stores or wherever.
Yeah, like you do with GT3 RS, take it to the grocery store, take it to the office, park it next to somebody else, get some door dings on it, give it some character.
If you remember, we did a G-Wagon review, and this belongs to the same guy that had the G-Wagon, and he actually sold the G-Wagon not because he needed a GT3 RS, but because the insurance was more expensive on the Mercedes than on this, and everything was just expensive. We may sit down with Bruce and talk to him about some of the challenges he had with this car because it was dollar after dollar. So he thought the wiser decision was to move over to this. The insurance on this car was half the price of the insurance on the G-Wagon, and the cars are about the same price, but performance-wise, it's night and day. Let's talk about some of the little details on this car.
The GT3 RS is Porsche's top track car, so it has track car features that you get right from the factory. Let's show you what some of those are. So it starts on the front end here with the splitter, and you can see there's some nicks on this one. Bruce has been driving this car, but the splitter is important to make sure the air goes over the car rather than under the car. This is a very, very low car, as you would want if you're gonna have it on the track, because this one is built not only for the track, but also the street. It has a button that will raise the nose so you don't scrape as much. So of course, we've got the big vents in the front bumper here. This car has a ton of radiators. This car has radiators like a cow has hearts. It starts on the front end right here. Moving back on the car, we've got the great black wheels, center locks, carbon ceramic brakes. A lot of people are down on carbon ceramic brakes. They say they're too expensive, but in reality, if you're not driving it on the track all the time, you're just using it for daily use, they will last a long time. Here on the fender, we see the carbon fiber vents. These release turbulent air to keep you planted. Now let's talk about some of the things you can't see. This hood, straight carbon fiber. This car is built with lightweight materials. We want to make it as light as possible on the track. It doesn't look like it from the top, but it sure does from the bottom. Beautiful. Something else you cannot see is the lightweight roof. This roof is actually made of magnesium, trying to focus on all of the lightweight materials that they can use to build this car to make it an absolute rocket on the track. Even down to these vents here, more radiators, more air coming in, of course, more carbon fiber. And then,
come back to the back,
the
big wing. So, you know, this is the only thing I don't like about any of my Porsches is it doesn't have a giant wing. I'll remedy that soon enough, but this is the stock wing that comes on this car. You want people to know this is a fast car and a wing like this says it. Now here's some of the fun parts for me. If you look, the Porsche sticker on here, carbon fiber, saves a couple grams. Where it would normally have a plastic badge, we also have another sticker. Now this is a fixed wing. The new GT3 RSs actually have active era wings. They'll adjust as you adjust speed. The difference between the GT3 RS and the standard GT3 is the thickness and the height of these supports here. With the standard GT3, they're gonna be a little thicker, not quite that thick, but a little thicker, and they'll be a little bit lower as well. Now, I talked about the stickers that are all carbon fiber. To save a couple grams, we've got a sticker on the back where the normal badge would be. Now come up front with me. Up at the front of the car here, we have another sticker. You could save a couple grams, I don't know, maybe half a gram, full gram even, by removing these stickers, but then how would anybody know what you're driving? And that's the most important part of Porsche ownership, is people knowing what you're driving. Now I will say that for a GT3 RS, this is missing some stickers. For a lava orange GT3 RS, this one is pretty stealthy.
It's a stealth, a sleeper GT3 RS.
You might not even know. Take those stickers off, people think you're in a Honda.
Yeah, but there's only one way to find out whether it's a sleeper, whether it's just a POS, so we gotta drive it, and that's what I'm gonna do right now.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm the one who drives the cars.
Bruce is my friend. And I want to drive this
car. And it was nice
of
him to bring a car here for me to test drive. That's how we do this thing.
Who owns more Porsches?
It's in the contract.
Not in the contract.
It's a contract.
I'm gonna have to get my agent on the phone, but how do we settle this? I want to drive this car.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Sure. Okay, cutting you out of it. I'm gonna go for a
not
drive.
best of three?
No, not best of three. Best
You
of
want to
one.
watch best of three, right?
These people don't want to watch. This is not the rock, paper, scissors channel. We'll link to that down below if that's what you're into, if that's
Well,
your
I'll shut
thing.
the hood
Please.
so you don't do any damage.
Now
here.
here's another fun thing. Painted keys. Now this one's not painted exactly to match, but hey, you know this is for your orange Porsche. Again, if you took those stickers off, you got to be able to tell them apart. Let's get inside and go for a drive, and we'll talk about what it looks like inside. Now before I start it up and I do the fun stuff, I want to talk about a couple things that's going to be hard for me to talk about while we're driving. First, this car has a Burmeister stereo, which is a rare stereo system in this car. This is the top of the line one. Not a surprise in a car that costs this much, but a surprise, a lot of these are blanked out and just have plates. But this is the fun part, and this one I can't really show you while we're driving. So this actually came with a Porsche branded cell phone that looks to have never been used. This makes sense on a Lexus from 2008. I don't quite understand why it would be in a car from 2016, much less a track-focused performance car. And again, this is a Porsche branded phone. This is probably the rarest thing you might see today. So let's do the thing that everybody cares about though. Nobody cares about the phone. Nobody cares about the radio. This is what we care about. So we are going to take this one out for a spin. Let me adjust my mirrors here. It's the wing that's throwing me off. It's a lot of ring in the rear window. The key to this car on the inside is really the minimalist nature of it. So you see, we don't have door handles, we have straps like an old race car. There is not much going on. These are bucket seats. We have our various buttons. We actually have the lift that Aaron was talking about, which is, there's the exhaust, there's the nose lift. And we've got the sport mode, which we certainly were going to put it in. And then all there is left to do, drive it and try to not get a ticket. Another interesting feature in this car, because it's a race car, it has a pit speed button that you can set to go no faster than X speed. And I know that Bruce actually uses this because he has a cop that sits in his neighborhood, and that cop follows Bruce all the time, so he keeps it in normal mode. So I'm going to slip it over here into manual, then we're going to see what this car can get up to. Using the paddles, downshifting. Oh my God, this thing screams. Even though this thing is, I mean, we're revving up now to 7,000 RPMs. This car feels really solid, it feels really planted. A lot of people complain about the difference between the 997s and the 991s, that the steering is different, the cars are bigger, but in the end, you're still inside a 911, and there's not much that beats that. Now, here's the thing that we're seeing here, just driving this car around, and I drive milk trucks and convertibles and all those sorts of things. People are staring at this car. You don't see an orange car as often. Frankly, the orange car that you see most often is likely a Jeep Renegade. That's at least what happens around here. So an orange 911, it draws people's eyes. Before we were able to get this video set up, Bruce was monopolized by a couple guys that walked across the street because he was sitting in the car waiting for us to start filming. So this is definitely the car that draws attention. And even though this is a race car, it has all the creature comforts. We've got AC, and like I said, it's PDK, so if you just want to drive it, you can. I put it into manual mode, and we're going to see if I can get it close to the 9,000 red line. go. That's it for first gear. Even though I'm not going anywhere, I'm not going that fast. I'm traveling with traffic at the speed limit, but I'm running it up, and there's so much room here. I feel like I'm going 1,000 miles an hour going 45. This car doesn't sound this quiet from the outside. So having driven, I put it back in automatic mode. So having driven several generations of these cars, I'll say this is really something else. I mean, obviously that's why you pay the big bucks for this car. And compared to my 996, night and day difference. This thing is an incredible monster. Obviously 996 is really nothing special as far as it goes. My 997, the GTS, is a great car, but this is something else entirely. Even though this is a very, very technologically advanced car, it's a great balance between that analog feel of the 996 and the digital feel of the 992. But then again, I've not driven a 992 GT3 RS, so if you've got one of those, let me know. That howl's crazy. I've been using the paddles to mess around here, but even though this car doesn't come in manual, I'm not disappointed. The PDK is a fantastic piece of equipment. It's just gonna make the enjoyment of this car that much better. This transmission is way smarter than I am, or frankly, anybody watching this channel. It can shift in a way that's gonna really maximize the power in this car. So I'm gonna turn around. I'm sure at this point, someone's called the police. I just got thumbs up. I'm sure at this point, someone's called the police on me. I made the Tundra insecure. So we're gonna head back and do some of the rolling shots of this thing. Now this is a more aggressive PDK than the PDK in my 997. It almost feels like a single clutch rather than a dual clutch. You can feel it hit. It is an aggressive PDK setup. I do have it in sport mode, so there's that factor in it well, but this is a different car. There's a reason that you pay the big bucks for this car. There's a reason that you really search out for it. This one is going to continue to appreciate in value. Original retail on this was $178,000, and I think that's about what Bruce paid for this thing. I think he stole it, to be honest with you. Now, one of the reasons he was able to get such a good price on this car was because it came with an aftermarket exhaust, and it was loud. I wish I'd had the wherewithal to video it when he first got this, but this thing sounded like a NASCAR car. It was nearly impossible to drive. Bruce took it to the dealership, took it to a friend of ours, and to take this car back to stock was going to be $32,000 with new Porsche parts. So he ended up buying a couple used mufflers. It's got the center muffler delete, so it's still got an aggressive sound, but not out there bonkers. But if you're using this as a buyer's guide, and that's something you need to know about, taking this car back to stock is very expensive, and it's somewhere in a garage in Tennessee sits about $30,000 worth of Porsche exhaust. So I just had this in sport mode, and you know, one of the things that I've heard a lot about GT3s is how stiff they are, how the suspension is so hard. And I'll be frank with you, it's really not as stiff as I expected it to be. You can tell this is a performance vehicle, but really when I compare it to the comfort of my GTS, which has both a sport and a soft mode, it's 100% a comfortable car either way you look at it. And even in non-sport mode now, this drives about the same as any of my other 911s, or frankly any 911 I've been in. Even when we put it in sport, you can hear the difference in that shift pattern, and it stiffens up a little bit, but not so much it's going to beat you up. Would I want to drive around sport all the time? No, because it is a more aggressive shifting pattern. But from a suspension standpoint, this is just as comfortable as any other 911 I've been in. Would I buy this over another 911, whether it be a 997 GT3 or even 996 GT3? You know, I think that I would take what was available and in my budget. Every GT3 that I've driven has been fantastic, and this one's no different. For a nice balance between the analog and the digital, I think this is great. From a size perspective, you can't tell how big a car is from the inside, but I imagine that's what contributes to the comfort of this car. It is longer than a 997, so while perhaps the 997s might beat you up a little bit more, this one is fairly comfortable, as I said. So would I buy one? Absolutely. I'd buy any GT3 you put in front of me. I do like this car. I like the wing. I like the styling of this car, and frankly, I've already got a fast 997, so I probably would lean towards doing a 991 or more modern 911. Between the 997 and the 991, there's a lot of common design language, as there are in all 911s, but one of the more interesting things is these buttons here on the console remain the same. This is how they are in the new cars. This is how they are in the 997, so it's up to you with what you like. I personally think that right now the 996 GT3s are a killer deal. They're not making many more of them, and those that are left are either pristine or used up. It's a great way to invest some money right now. When you get inside a Porsche, it's instantly familiar. You're not surprised by anything. It's all in that same design language, just like the body outside. One last thing I want to mention about this car, I don't think there's any fender liners. You can hear the rocks hitting the inside. You can just really hear the road with this car because everything has been removed to make it lighter. What a fantastic drive. As Dad always said, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and I'm so glad I know people like Bruce who are willing to let me take his car for half a day and make a silly YouTube video about it.
Agreed. Is this a buyer's guide video? Should you buy a GT3 RS?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you should buy a GT3 RS.
Yes. If you can afford it, buy a GT3 RS. If you can't, go to our site, buy some of our shirts. If you can't do that, make sure that you like and subscribe.
Thanks for watching. See you next time. And if you have a car you'd like us to drive, drop a line too.